Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome back to another Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Early Access Draft. Thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for this promotional early access account, and without further ado, let's get into the draft. So I know this uncommon, and this card's super sweet. For 4 mana, at worst you're going to get a 2/2 Orc Army, then you're going to deal 2 damage to a creature an opponent controls. So not super hard to use this as a removal spell and a creature all in one, which is a super good 2-for-1 deal. There's also a great black removal spell here, and a solid active treason like temporary steel orc. So love these uncommons. I think any of these would be a great pick. But I haven't read this rare before. 5 mana for a red-green artifact. When you attack, scry to reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, put it on the battlefield tapped and attacking. Until your next turn, it gains trample if you would have a dwarf, and hexproof if you control an elf. That's really fun. It's probably not insane, but I'm gonna take that. That seems stupid enough to be potentially like explosive. If you have a creature in your top 3 cards, you're gonna get a free creature every time you attack. Even if it doesn't get trample or hexproof. That could be big. I'm going to try Doors of Durin here as our pack 1 pick 1. Got Shadow of the Enemy as our next rare. Exile all creature cards from someone's graveyard. You may cast them. Spells from among those cards, as long as they remain exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast them. So it's like a 6 mana, draw 2 to 10 cards in draft. Could be pretty big in the right deck, if you're like a mill deck too. But 6 mana is a lot for just drawing cards, but you draw a lot of cards. I mean, you're only going to get 10 creatures if you're really a mill deck and they're about to die anyway. I don't know how I feel about that, but the red and green cards aren't the greatest here. Spearmaster seems fine. I'm going to take this, but I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. This is probably pretty bad in draft, because it's going to take a while for them to have enough creatures in grave, but if you're surrounded by Orcs mill deck, maybe it draws you a lot of cards. Pack 1 pick 3. Probably try to take one of the better red cards here to go with Doors of Durin. I just saw 2 Uruk-hai captains in a row for red-black, where you're going to be amassing an Orc Army, and with the Uruk-hai captain, you're going to be getting additional counters onto that as well, which is pretty cool. But again, I'd like to try to get this Doors of Durin working, but we didn't see great green stuff last pack. Mushroom Watchdogs is good if you've got a lot of food production, so it's good in green-white. I don't think it's great in green-red, though. Got the Lancer, which is solid, just cheap. Cheap, hard to block. Gets that Ring Tempt value. Breaking of the Fellowship, cheap removal gets the Ring Tempt value. Still not really in love with any of the mono-colored cards, so I'm just going to take the red-black Signpost uncommon. And I guess I'm going to be all over the place, because I do really like Gandalf's Sanction. 1 a blue and a red for a sorcery, deals X to a creature where X is the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, and deals excess damage to the controller of that creature. So this is really nice for a blue-red spells deck. And I'm just going to be in every single color except for white, I guess. If we wanted to go for black-red Amass, Dunlin Crebain is a very solid card for that archetype. But again, doesn't feel like there's anything great to go with Doors of Durin out of red or green. Just a Spearmaster, which is fine, and that's kind of it. So I don't think the pick 1 Doors of Durin's working out super well. Alright, here's a Surrounded by Orcs, and I have played a Surrounded by Orcs deck that was dedicated to making a giant Orc Army and trying to mill our opponent. Haven't played one that tries to mill itself, but that is a thing in this format, because there are cards like Gandalf's Sanction that care about the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. So if you run almost all instants and sorceries and you mill yourself with Surrounded by Orcs, you can get to a position where Gandalf's Sanction does 5, 7, 8 damage to your opponent after you shoot one of their 1/1s or something. That could turn into a finisher, so I probably like Surrounded by Orcs way too much, and I'm supposed to just take another Dunlin Crebain here, and I'm supposed to really be in the black-red army archetype. But I like the idea of trying out the blue-red self-mill instant sorcery nonsense archetype, and I'm even going to take us Surrounded by Orcs over Athelian Kingfisher. I just want to try some funky stuff while we can in the early access event here. Try some really unique archetypes. So we've done green-white, we've done green-red, we've done Blue-black. Let's see if we can go blue-red here and do a pretty spicy version of blue-red. Now, Deceive the Messenger looks great for the blue-red deck because it's a way to get a 1-mana 1/1 into your deck, so you actually have more creatures in there, while still counting as an instant or sorcery for your instant sorcery count. I think all of the land cyclers play pretty well in the format too, so like draw 3 is big. This could be good for this archetype too. What do I think people are going to pass more often? I feel like both of these are probably going to get passed all the time, so I'll go for the cheap card first, make sure we have tons of 1 and 2 mana instants and sorceries to get going with. Alright, no good instants and sorceries out of this pack. Just the land destruction, kind of stopping blocks sort of spell. Not that great. I'll just take the Lancer here, even though I don't like really want to play it. Alright, we got the Lorien revealed here for the big card draw, or the island cycling. And this could be really good for an all-in Gandalf Sanction deck as well, because if we get enough copies of this, then we can run a few of these over islands. Like, we can run 14 lands and 4 Lorien reveals, so that it's kind of like we're still running 18 lands, we just have to spend a mana to do it. And that is actually going to play really well with Gandalf Sanction, because we're putting sorceries into our graveyard while just picking up land cards. Oh my god. This is a bad idea, but I'm going to take another Surrounded by Orcs over Breaking of the Fellowship. The more Surrounded by Orcs you get, the dumber they are. This is going to be a thing. Pick 14, Aphelion Kingfisher. I think this is one of Blue's best commons. It's just a great little flyer. Alright, well, we can take another Deceive the Messenger. We can take a Gandalf. If we get some Ring Tempting, this can be some good card draw. Being able to play our sorceries at instant speed is really good, actually. This might be the pick. I could take Sauron's Ransom, and I think if I was just trying to win and stay open here to being like the blue-black mill deck again, this is probably the right pick because it's a great card draw spell. However, this is the early access event. I want to make sure every single draft I do ends up in at least a slightly different archetype, so I want to make sure I'm not just blue-black Surrounded by Orcs mill again. I'm going to try to commit to the blue-red instant sorcery deck that's trying to fill its grave with many instants and sorceries. So I'm going to go for Gandalf over Sauron's Ransom, but I think if it weren't for the content for the video, I'd probably go for Sauron's Ransom and just be on the 5 Surrounded by Orcs deck again. Swarming of Moria is a great one for this archetype. Gives you a creature off of a sorcery, gives you a treasure token to ramp up. Display of Power is cool. Could be another copy of Gandalf Sanction. But by itself, it's super, super bad. I don't think I'm going to draft that. I think this is a card people should not take very highly, but I don't think it's going to come back because it is the early access event. Everybody's trying to do fun stuff. If it does wheel, I think it would be worth taking it at that point. But we really need to take something like Swarming of Moria that's much more consistent first. Ooh, alright, I'm happy. We've got a Flame of Anor, which is 3 mana instant for 5 to a creature, or 3 mana instant draw 2. That's like the worst case scenario. If we control Gandalf when we play this, then we get to do 2 of these things, which is super good. I'm definitely taking this. That's fantastic. Love to get a Glorious Gale or a Fear Fire Foes or an Isolation back. Tons of cards that could come back that are also strong. Oliphant is definitely not as good as Lorien revealed in this deck because it doesn't put an instant or sorcery in our grave, but it's still nice to have the land cyclers. Could main deck a Cast into the Fire. There's a lot of 1 toughness cards in the format, and there's a few artifacts, so usually it'll at least work out. I'll try it. If there was ever a deck to finally try Cast into the Fire, it would be the one that wants to play almost all instants and sorceries. I'm not going to have a lot of expendable stuff for the improvised club, but it is great removal if you have like a 1/1 Orc Army on board or something. Kind of tempting, even though I'm really going to have few cards for it. Bewitching Leechcraft is very mediocre removal, because it doesn't work against anything with +1/+1 counters on it, but could see that. I'm going to go for this Improvised Club. I could also go Flamesmith, actually. I'm going to go for the Flamesmith. I don't have to be 100% instants and sorceries, and this is one non-instant or sorcery card that can also help me kill my opponent by casting a bunch of instants and sorceries. And there we go. Pack 2, pick 6, second copy of Gandalf's Sanction. That's what we want to see. That's the payoff there, getting multiple. Oh, yes. Oh my god. I am getting incredibly excited right now. This is the deck. This is the one. 3 Gandalf Sanction. All instants and sorceries. Let's do it. Oh, sweet lord, give me all the copies of Deceive the Messenger now. Now Deceive the Messenger is like an A+ card. Dreadful as the Storm really doesn't do anything unless we have an army on board. I don't want to take a creature, but I cannot afford a lot of copies of Dreadful as the Storm. I'm going to take a Wizard's Rocket. Maybe I'll splash something off of this. Alright, another Deceive the Messenger is great. I feel like Isolation at Orthonk's also very good. But I really like having some 1-drops that are instants and sorceries and creatures at the same time. I'm going to take a lot of Deceive the Messenger for this deck. I guess I'll take a Spearmaster now over Rohirrim. So Wizard's Rockets, if you don't know, it's just like some random mana fixing. Get whatever colors you need and draw a card when you sack it, which is nice. If we splash some stuff, definitely take an Isolation here for interaction, some bounce, some tempo plays. What am I looking for pack 3? What is the only thing I'm really missing here? Cheap red burn spells. We're looking for the 1 in a red, 3 damage to target creature. We want to get 1 or 2 copies of that out of the next pack, or if we're lucky, get the uncommon, the 1 red mana sorcery for 2 damage to any target. We want some cheap spells like that, and that'll really get this deck working quite well. So that's what we're looking for here. We'll see if we can open any of those up as we move into pack number 3, pick 1. We did not open any of those up. Okay, well, take a counterspell. Counterspell actually, now that I've played a little bit of the early access event, has been playing worse than Essence Scatter because there are a lot of creatures that are technically spells, like Surrounded by Orcs, that the Glorious Gale can't counter, so I'm actually not that high on it. I think I like Hithlane Knots here. Scry 1, draw a card, even if it is 2 mana, is already good if you're just trying to cycle through your deck and cast as many instants and sorceries as possible. So slapping tap a creature onto it for 2 mana instead of 1 mana, I think is fine. I think that's worth it. Minds of Mori would also be fun, but it's always going to come in tapped, which is a kind of big downside. Another Deceive the Messenger versus Eomer, Marshal of Rohan. 4 mana, 4/4 haste. Whenever 1 or more other attacking legendary creatures dies, you get another combat step. So it's a 4 mana, 4/4 haste, which is strong. Don't get me wrong, but I don't actually want that in this deck. I'm going to take a Soothing of Smeagol, and then I'm going to wheel a Deceive the Messenger. That's what I'm going to do. I want the Deceive more, but I don't think I want anything else out of this pack, so just take the Soothing and we'll get the Deceive back. I think people are going to take Soothing higher than they take Deceive. I'm splashing in the mouth of Sauron. We know why we have the Wizard's Rockets now, because we're going to have a graveyard full of instants and sorceries. Full instants and sorceries. That's going to be a gigantic frickin' Orc Army. I could splash in Sauron himself. Oh my god. Whenever your army hits your opponent, you get to discard your hand, draw 4? Jesus Christ. Alright, I guess I have to take Sauron. The Mouth of Sauron seems like a better synergy piece for this deck, but we're going to have so less opportunities to play this Mythic Rare Sauron the Dark Lord, so I guess I'm taking that. I'm actually a little sad about it. I'm a little bummed about it. I wanted to take Mouth of Sauron, but I don't think anybody would let me get away with taking Sauron's underling over Sauron himself. I'm just going to take another Gandalf here. I'm not splashing enough black to play that other spell. Alright, take the little counter. Kingfisher's good too. Actually, yeah, I'll play a few creatures. We'll play the Kingfishers as our creatures. I will definitely play another Hithlane Knots. Another Kingfisher still. Good grief. I don't know if I want a third Kingfisher. I think I'd rather get a Breaking of the Fellowship. This is one of my first, like, additional little burn spells, even if it isn't a great one. Pick 8, Smite the Deathless. Alright, so the problem is not that red was incredibly heavily contested. The problem is we weren't opening a lot of these, because it's a pick 8 one? Good grief. Alright. Another Soothing of Smeagol. Let's see if we get a Deceive the Messenger back. I'm hoping we do. I don't know if one Wizard's Rockets is enough to get Sauron in here. Which, at that rate, I don't know if one's enough to get Mouth of Sauron in here either. Yeah, we got Deceive the Messenger back. I think this deck is just so much more consistent and functions better in just 2 colors. I think either Splash Fun choice we took was probably going to end up getting cut, but I think I'm cutting Sauron in Wizard's Rockets. Unfortunately, as cool as he is, we're on just Gandalf Sanction, trying to play this as like our Zenith Flare of the format, our gigantic burn spell out of nowhere card. Finish our opponent off. Nice late Glorious Gale. We'll get to play one of those if we want to. Don't want to play a Rush the Room, though. Even if I get one super, super late, I'm just not going to put that in my deck that has very, very, very few creatures. So let's just build all in on Gandalf Sanction. So we want almost entirely instants and sorceries. So we want to cut Sauron and Wizard's Rockets right now. Stick to blue-red. Apologies for the lag in the deck builder. The early access build of Arena right now, I think there's just something wrong with it. At least on my computer. I've rebooted several times and it always just lags out a lot during deck building. So we're going to cut a lot of our random mediocre creatures as quickly as I can. Here, I'll just scooch everything to the side. So we're going to get rid of the Lancer. We're going to get rid of Rush the Room here, because we're not going to have enough creatures for that to be a great combat trick. I think these are the 3 creatures we want. I mean, the Ring's not going to tempt us, like, at all. So this is just a 4-mana 2/4 that gives our sorceries flash. This might not actually be that worth it. Gandalf here. Got 1 card that maybe tempts the Ring. I've got 2 Soothing of Smeagol. I guess the problem is not only do I need to tempt the Ring, but I have to choose somebody other than Gandalf to draw the card. So I need to have the Ring tempt me, and I need to have Gandalf and an additional creature on the board. That doesn't seem like it happens consistently in this deck. I think I might actually just cut the double Gandalf. Just straight up be like the 0 creature deck. Don't know if it's like super correct, but it's going to be super fun. Super cool. Still need to cut 4 more cards. Loving all these spells up at the top end. No way am I cutting Gandalf Sanction or the Flame. Swarming of Moria. Dreadful as the Storm. I have a low enough creature count. I will almost definitely cut that. Still want to cut 3 more cards. With 2 Lorien revealed, we can play these over 2 islands and just cycle them away to fill our graveyard with instants and sorceries. So we can cut 2 lands here and still be basically a 17 land deck. That puts us at 41 out of 40 cards, where we want to cut 1 more thing. Probably one of the 2 drops. Cast into the Fire or Breaking of the Fellowship, whatever ends up playing worse. Or the bounce spell here. Sure, I'll cut 1 of the bounce spell. Then I'm still playing like 1 of everything at least, and we can see what plays really well, what plays really poorly, and edit the deck based on the gameplay there. We have 20 blue cards and 9 red, so I think an 8-7 split is correct, even with double island cyclers upping the blue count. I think 7 red sources is more than enough with 9 red cards. Yeah. think we're going to call it a deck there. All right, here we have a look at today's deck list. This is an all-in blue-red spells deck. We are casting tons of instants and sorceries, and that's about all we're doing. We have 3 creatures in this deck, one of which shoots our opponent as we cast instants and sorceries, and the other 2 are just decent little value flyers. But we are mainly trying to win off of a couple different cards, primarily 3 copies of Gandalf's Sanction. With this card, we get to deal X damage to a creature, where X is a number of instants and sorceries in our graveyard, and deal the excess damage to our opponent's face. So if we get a lot of instants and sorceries in graveyard, which we can definitely do with 22 in the deck, then casting a couple copies of this Gandalf Sanction could dome our opponent for like 20. I don't think we're going to have a very good matchup against food decks, but in that matchup, we can try to do some mill with cards like Surrounded by Orcs, try to pop off with that. But against decks that don't have a lot of life gain, Gandalf Sanction could pop off, do a ton of damage to them. So outside of that, we just have a ton of pieces of interaction and card draw to just keep cycling through our deck. A lot of ways to amass a little bit to make sure that we have some creatures on board. But overall, lots of removal, bounce spells, and card draw. And we're just trying to fly through our deck as quickly as possible, pinging our opponent away with Gandalf Sanctions and maybe a Flamesmith. So that is the archetype for today. It's going to be a pretty sweet one, a very unique one. We'll see how it plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play with double Gandalf Sanction and double Surrounded by Orcs. This is a little bit of a greedy keep. I need to hit one land really badly, but if I can Swarming of Moria into a Surrounded by Orcs, I'm just going to start milling myself super fast. Because if I fill my graveyard with instants and sorceries, double Gandalf Sanction can definitely find lethal. And we're drawing really well. We hit our 3rd land for the Swarming of Moria, and we hit a Flame of Anor, so we have some interaction. Could also be a draw spell if we need it to be. There's a Swarming of Moria for our opponent as well. And if I hit a land off the top, that'd be beautiful. I get to save my treasure for later. If I don't hit a land, I'm still going to just pop off Surrounded by Orcs myself here. But let's actually cycle the Lorien Revealed and then do it. That way next turn I guaranteed don't have to find another treasure to play another Surrounded by Orcs. And that's 7 instants and sorceries in our grave already, and we get to swing in a 5/5 here, force a chump block. So these Sanctions, that's already, if I shoot a 1/1 each time, that's 12 damage, because 1 to that and then 6 to them, 1 to that and then 6 to them. Alright, so they're just going to get the Ring Bearer, put it onto the Orc Army here. Put a Knife Wound on our Orc Army. So I have to pay some life to keep it around. I'm going to pay the life here, I think, so I can mill myself 5 instead of 3. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. I love this format. This is a silly format. It's a... If they have 2 1/1s, I could just kill them. Oh my god. They don't even need 2 1/1s. I just play 2 Gandalf Sanctions in a row. It doesn't really matter how big their cards are because I hit them down to 15 with the army. Hold up. There's a Berserker, sure. So they're at 15. If I sanction a 2 toughness card off the board, they're going to take 9? Take 9 twice, they're dead. Yeah, we just start sanctioning. That's just straight up what we're doing. Down to 14, down to 12. Oh my god. Oh, I had another red source. I'm 1 mana off from playing both. Could you imagine? I just play both and they're just dead immediately. If they have a way to sacrifice the Berserker at instant speed, I'm going to be very sad. Because then they don't take any damage here. Give it indestructible. I still deal 9 to them. Which is hilarious. They're down to 6. Alright. Sweet. No point in attacking then, I guess. Keep our 5/8 blocker up. There's a Goblin Fire Leaper. And they're going to draw a card, discard a card. I also can't block that because my army's too big. So I have to take that because it is the Ring Bearer. I don't think it matters. I'll keep it on the board, I guess. Here's the sanction. Deal 10. They go to -4. Well, there you have it. When you draw 2 Gandalf sanctions and some surrounded by orcs to mill yourself, that's exactly the deck idea when we drafted this. That was picture perfect. That's the archetype for you if you want to try to do the 0 creature blue-red spells deck. That was so cool. Alright, well, we did the thing at least once. Even if we play against green-white food like the next 3 rounds and then just lose because they gain 1,000,000, at least we really got to pop off for game 1. Excellent way to start it off as we head into game number 2. Here we are for game 2. We got that Gandalf sanction at the ready. We've got the surrounded by orcs as well. To mill ourselves, we've got the game plan. I can even cycle this Lorien Revealed away to get another instant or sorcery in the grave. They're going to start with a Mirkwood Spider. Crossing our fingers that their second color is not white, because that's already one color that can produce food tokens. No reason to hold the red up, so I'm just going to not reveal my second color yet. I can use Deceive the Messenger to kill the spider, or I could counter a creature if they play a really good 2-mana one. So, good options here. Yeah, they've already got 1 food color because they've got green, which has access to foods. Let's just hope they don't also have white. Get the spider kill off of the Deceive the Messenger. They are green-black. Black, I think, has a little bit of life gain. Not nearly as much as white, though, so I'm cool with that. I just hold up the counterspell or the bounce spell. I think that's fine. I don't think I need to blow up the Pathfinder with my spell that's also a win condition. I should probably save it as a win condition. Send in for 1 and pass the turn, because there's basically no universe in which they're going to try to trade a mana dork into our 1/1. Not that I think this is super expendable. I'd like it to have as much power as possible when we're surrounded by orcs. I just think they're incredibly unlikely to block. Torment of Gollum. Oh, I wish I could counter that. There goes Gandalf's Sanction, I guess. It's a good thing I've got 2 more copies. They might get rid of Surrounded by Orcs, but that'd be kind of weird. Get rid of the Glorious Gale. That actually makes me real scared. That means they've got a creature that's going to be great that they want to resolve. Huh. Well, that's not good. I mean, maybe Sanction can kill whatever they try to resolve. Really interesting. Make the most of my mana and bounce the Pathfinder for now. I think I will. Drawn to a Kingfisher. Do this while we know we still can. Oh, I hit 2 creatures off that mill. That's awkward. That's still a 7 damage Gandalf Sanction, which is not a bad card. It's just not quite a win condition yet. Gorebag of Minas Morgul. When they hit me with the orc, they can sack it to draw a card or get a treasure. That's pretty cool. That's really good with an Orc Army, because a lot of your Amass cards, you'd rather keep making new 1/1s and 2/2s than making the first one bigger. If you're like green-black or black-white, like one of the sacrifice kind of archetypes. Flame's a pretty sweet draw. I do not have a wizard, and I will never have a wizard, but I can blow up whatever creature I need to. I don't think I need to blow anything up, though. I might just draw 2. I think I'm just playing the aggro role right now, where I just play a flyer. Keep chipping away at them. They're down to 11. That is a really big deal. with Gandalf Sanction in hand. They might be trying to have an instant speed sacrifice outlet to counter the Gandalf Sanction so that they don't take any damage. Because if whatever you're targeting with Gandalf Sanction leaves the battlefield before the spell resolves, your opponent will take 0 damage because your spell just won't resolve. Oh, dear lord. Whenever another creature dealt damage by a spider dies, turn it into a food? Create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's also a food artifact that they can sack to gain 3. It loses its other card type, so it won't be able to attack or block, but it'll be... They could, like, sack it, draw a card, and gain 3. This isn't a spider, though, so I can trade in a gore bag, but that doesn't have reach. So I can actually hit them in the sky for 2, putting them to... 9 life? Not low enough to kill them with Gandalf Sanction, but it's close. That's weird. This is like the only spider without reach. Yeah, 2 attacks from the Kingfisher will kill our opponent. Because that puts them down to 7, and Gandalf Sanction hits them for probably 8 by the time we cast it. Because we'll play the Flame of Anor at least. And just kill the 1/1. Okay, another land. 5 mana to target this because it has Ward 2, so I could attack with both and then they block. Oh, this is... Oh, it's a Ring Bearer! They can't block it! Oh my god, I forgot about the Ring Bearer! They probably did too. It has too much power. It's 8 power, so it just can't block, so they just take 6. And then we just Gandalf Sanction. Oh my god, the Ring Bearer is actually nuts. Even if a 4/4 is the Ring Bearer, if your opponent only has an 8/8 on board, it's too big. An 8/8's way bigger than a 4/4. Oh my god, yeah, we both completely forgot about that. Until this exact moment, so that was pretty lucky for me. That's... I mean, unless they have a 1 mana instant speed way to sacrifice this Pathfinder, that is gonna be dead on board. Yeah, oops from our opponent. I'll give them the sorry, because I didn't notice either. I had no idea. Forgot this thing was the Ring Bearer. And forgot that that meant it can't be blocked by that 8/8. Well, that was not how I expected that game to end, but I'll take it. The deck did some sweet stuff as always. Gandalf Sanction was phenomenal. The big decision point in that game that could have changed the outcome quite a bit is if our opponent... I think if they'd played against the blue-red spells archetype a couple times, they probably would have taken Gandalf Sanction from us. But this is probably the first time they saw somebody trying to do the Gandalf Sanction nonsense. So if they made us discard Sanction instead of our little counterspell, the game could have played out a lot differently. Well, it would have played out a lot differently. I don't know if we would have lost, but the course of events would have changed dramatically. We probably would have been able to counter the big spider, but they would have known we had the counterspell in hand, so they would have known to play around it as best as they could to get the spider to resolve. So if they found a chance to get that spider resolved, we'd probably die to it without the Gandalf Sanction to get a bunch of extra damage in. Here we are for game 3 now. We're 2-0, undefeated now against Sam Black, one of the best drafters of all time. A very famous professional Magic the Gathering player in the Hall of Fame, I think, and all kinds of other stuff, so... Little scared here, little scared. I'm going to cross my fingers and hold on to a Smite the Deathless for the life of me, because we've got, what, 10 blue sources? Yeah, we have 8 islands and 2 island cyclers, so there's 10 out of 33. 1 out of 3 cards is a blue source, and I can just smite Sam's first play. Probably greedy, but I'm going to try to keep as many 7-card hands as possible. Not go down in card advantage immediately. Alright, we have drawn blue spell into blue spell. About as far from ideal as it can get. At least there's a nice card for us to blow up with our smite. Get rid of this Meriadoc Brandy Book, and island? No. Alright, we got one more turn to draw an island before we are going to be in major pain, because then we play no lands this turn and no spells. Even if we hit an island cycler, that's perfectly fine. Alright, well, could be one of those games. If they play a token of any kind, our Flamesmith is just dead. Just make a food token, sack it, kill the Flamesmith. Oh, yikes. Wow. With Aomer too, so they can just sack a 1/1 token to kill it soon. Attacking for 10 right now. Oh, wow, they can order it to just kill immediately? Good grief. Okay. Alright. Well, I don't know if the best hand would have won this game, but this hand really loses this game. Dead. Super quick. Sam Black's on some 4-color stuff over there. Probably splashing in all the legendaries with a bunch of Great Hall of the Citadel. That's pretty fun. Very cool deck from Sam. Kind of wish I mulliganed so we could have had a little bit more of a game there, but Old Man Willow into Aomer is a really good 1-2 punch, so if I mulliganed into another hand that didn't have like the 2-mana counterspell or something, we were probably still just going to get rolled. Just absolutely steamrolled. Maybe it would have taken like 2 or 3 turns longer, but that was some phenomenal, just super powerful legends from Sam. We are 2-1 heading into game number 4. Alright, this hand is super keepable. It's a monocolored hand again, so it's got issues, but it has Gandalf Sanction for late game. It's got 3 lands at least, because we can island cycle the Lorien Revealed. It's got a bounce spell to slow our opponent down, and it's got a scry 2, draw 2 to try to find the red source. So I'm going to keep it. I don't think I'm going to immediately island cycle the Lorien Revealed, because if I draw another land next turn to where I have 4 lands in hand, I'm just going to hold on to it for dear life. Alright, we've got 4 lands, so let's just hold on to this thing. Opponent starts with a Shire Sheriff as just a 2-mana 2/2 Vigilance, which is fine. Could bounce that. I'd rather just drop or bounce their 3-mana play. Unless it's like the Kerbane that makes creatures. They don't play a 3-mana play. Interesting. Should I just bounce the Sheriff now while I have the mana up in case I draw something to cast? Maybe? Sure, yeah. They'll have to recast it next turn. There's the red source, that's nice. Now we can smite it. Yeah, now we're golden. Now we have smite for a removal spell. We've got some major card draw the next 2 turns. And then we can Gandalf Sanction as a finisher eventually. And it looks like so far all they have is this Shire Sheriff. They might have a bunch of removal, which is the other thing that's kind of nice about like an all instant sorcery deck, is you do blank a lot of their removal spells for a while, but then they have 5,000 ways to kill your Orc Army when you do play it. Yeah, let's let them kill the Orc Army. Let's put some instants and sorceries in the grave. Oh no, I milled my other surrounded by orcs. It's fine. That's fine. Better than not milling any sorceries, probably. It is a little bit sad, though. Landroval. Strong one. Ooh, I forgot I had 3 of these. I guess I'll play this and mill 6. Well, I could do that, or I could just draw 3. I think I'd like to mill 6, because that also is going to deal 6 damage to them, which gets Gandalf Sanction much closer to killing them. Because it puts them down to, what, 14 if they don't block? Yeah, that's big. That's helpful. Call of the Ring. Beginning of their upkeep, the ring tempts them. When they choose a creature as the ring bearer, they can pay 2 life to draw a card. That's really good. So they may pay 2 life and draw a card every turn. In worst case scenario, they're going to get all the way up to chapter 4 of the ring bearer really quickly. That is very, very nice indeed. Am I going to want to just sanction the Denethor and send in with my 6/6? Probably. So if I sanction it right now, I deal 4, then attack for 6, they go to 4 life total. I think that's worth it. I've got 3 more copies of Gandalf Sanction in the deck as well. I'm going to hold on to Lorien Revealed so I can play all these draw... Ooh. I draw Hithling Knots. I might tap Denethor and just hit them here. Scry 1, draw a card. I hit a land, I get to play Arwen's Gift as well. I'm actually going to do this, because I still get to hit them with my creature. Ooh, Flame of Anor? Alright, it's not a land, but it means I get to play this instead of Arwen's Gift. Okay, so this puts them to dead to Sanction next turn. Because we can get Sanction up to 10? I guess that's not quite dead to Sanction. I think, actually, I needed to Island Cycle there. That puts Sanction to 10. And then I still have the mana up for the Flame after that. Put Sanction to 11 when we cast it. Okay, if they pay 2 life to draw a card, then they are gonna be dead to Sanction. Because 10 minus 4 is 6. Alright, and they made a 1/1 as well, so now they're super dead to it. This is gonna be sweet. Okay. Deal 5 to the Ring Bearer, I guess. Actually, I guess I should have killed Denethor because then they get less 1/1s. But this is okay. They need 2 mana to sack something, right? Yes, they need 2 mana to sack something. So Gandalf's Sanction should finish them off. And it absolutely does. We are 3-1 now as we head into game number 5. Here we are for game 5. Very keepable hand. Got the early Deceive the Messenger. Got the Smite the Deathless. Or the early removal as well. Oh, Deceive's gonna pop off potentially. Depending on how much they played, because Arena is a snitch here, so they know I have a 1 blue mana card. No combat trick, no combat trick. Deceived! Then an Eastmark Cavalier as the play for the turn. We've got another Deceive. Hold up a minute. That is gonna be the rudest thing I think I've ever done. If they don't have a combat trick, okay, not the rudest thing I've ever. That's an exaggeration, but it's gonna be very rude. Oh, equip human for 1, then Deceive the Messenger is not enough damage, so I could tap it, scry 1, draw a card, or I could just kill it. I think I need to hit a land here, so I'm gonna get the scry 1, draw 1. Scry that away, look for a land. That is not a land. That is a land, though, so it helped dig there, which is great. 3 mana up, I can Deceive the Messenger and Smite the Deathless. Probably the line. Don't need to hold the Orc up as a blocker. They're not going to haste out a green-white card. Let's see the combat trick here. No combat trick. We get to exile the Dork. They play a Frodo Baggins. Must be blocked to Fable. Okay. I think I should probably just get this out of the way. Get that mana investment out of the way because I'm kind of choked on mana here. Flame of Anor, I could just blow up Frodo. Could also draw 2 though and help hit more lands, which is pretty important. I think I draw 2 here. I mean, if they play more legends, they're going to keep tempting the ring more, which is kind of a big deal. Yeah. I mean, 1 more land, we get to scry 2, draw 2, and that hits the rest of our lands. Let's get rid of Frodo and just hit them for 2. Put them closer in range of our Gandalf sanctions in the future. Errand Rider of Gondor. Draw a card, put a card back. Pretty happy to have killed Frodo then. So if we didn't kill Frodo, that would just be draw a card, period. Wouldn't have to put a card back. It's a 5/3 though, which is a big deal. Our Surrounded by Orcs is going to be a 5/5. not big enough to deal with the Errand Rider yet. I think I'd rather just scry 2, draw 2. Cast into the fire to exile the blade is not bad. I want to draw that? Not particularly. I think I'm just digging for sanctions. Alright, Soothing of Smeagol is pretty good. They play any creatures, Breaking the Fellowship can also get a kill. Oh! Alright, yeah. 1 cast into the fire was not going to deal with all these blades. We take 7 to the face. It's a lot of damage. Surrounded by orcs for another one. I can play a Kingfisher and bounce the Errand Rider. They get to get their draw trigger again, but they don't have to take 7 next turn. So they recast the Errand Rider. They've got 1 mana up to equip it with one of the things. 2 mana up. All right, they can double equip. That's an issue. Dang it. I need to draw a Gandalf Sanction because I can't just mill all of them. That won't get me there. I'm going to mill all 3 of them somehow. Okay, I milled 0 of them. They're still all in there right now. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 instant sorceries if I do draw one. I might be on chump block, draw a card here. Oh wait, they can't block the Orc Army because that has 7 power and it's the Ring Bearer. So we send in for 5 and pass. I always forget that. That's so insane that I have a 5/5 unblockable right now because they have a 7/4. We definitely attack then, and then just trump with Kingfisher. Draw Hithlane Knots, beautiful draw. Tap that thing down for a turn. Westfold Rider. Doesn't do too much here. I don't have many artifacts, enchantments, but I guess it lets them move their stuff around, and then they can actually block the Orc Army, but I can make it bigger, so we're fine. There's a Gandalf Sanction. GG? It's dead on board. Do I go for it? I think I do. Hit for 6, then hit for 5. Yeah, this ability is sorcery speed. They can't sack it at instant speed, just to make this not trigger. Hit them for 6, attack for 5. If they kill my Orc Army in response, or if they have a hexproof trick, I can still play the knots on their next attack and look for another copy of Gandalf Sanction to win. They're down to 4. Let's see the removal for the Orc Army. They do have the removal for the Orc Army. Okay. And they get a food token, so they go up to 7. Gonna have to tap that thing down for sure. There's an Eowyn. Target creature gets First Strike or Vigilance. If it's equipped, it gets the other one as well, so it's gonna get both abilities. Alright, not a big deal. It doesn't really change the amount of damage I'm taking. Scry this land away, draw a card. We got 2 more copies of Gandalf Sanction to look for. Kill Eowyn with their Errand Rider of Gondor, but I can't kill the Errand Rider with the Eowyn. Only works one way. They're going to go to 7 here. Lorien Revealed. That's a cool one, but I think it's better to Surrounded by Orcs plus Breaking of the Fellowship. This creature will deal damage. This creature will be dealt damage. Thank you for the simple explanation. Oh, I should have made my orc first. That was dumb. Should have made my Orc first. I think I mill them at this point, because any sanctions I draw are already lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, like any sanctions are lethal. Fog on the Barrow down, so that can't attack or block. We just hit a land. I need to make another Orc Army to not immediately die. I need them to not top deck removal, and then I have to just chump block for a turn, getting another chance to draw Gandalf sanctions. If I miscounted here and it's not going to be a lethal sanctions, that's going to be bad. But I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not even going to count at this point. We'll just find out. We'll just find out if and when we draw it. Do not draw it, but I draw an Isolation at Orthonk. If I play Lorien Revealed and I don't draw another land somehow to the top 3, if I get super unlucky, then I just die. So I need to Isolation. I'm going to do it right now so that if they have a Hexproof Trick in hand, then I guess it doesn't matter. If they had a Hexproof Trick in hand right now, then they would just play it and then kill me. But I guess if they have the Hexproof Trick on top of their library, I survive by playing that now. War of the Alliance. Search for a legendary creature, reveal it, put into your hand. They do that twice. Oh. That's pretty strong. It's a big draw too. They get a Legolas. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you don't control, it deals damage equal to its power to a creature. Okay. Not that big. Doesn't kill us in one swing, which is the important part. Draw 3. See if we find it. Oh, Gandalf Sanction, that's 15? That's definitely lethal. Let's go. Sweet, sweet stuff yet again from the blue-red spells deck. Gandalf Sanction, 3 copies is just absurd. This has been a really, really fun, really unique deck. I love this one. We are 4-1 now as we head into game number 6. Here we are for game 6 with a beautiful hand. Lorien Revealed can give us the 3rd land if need be. We've also got Smite the Deathless for early removal, Hithlane Knots to tap something down, Scry and Draw to get more cards in the grave. And I'm probably going to Island Cycle here. I should have played the Mountain actually, so that there's less lands revealed to them. Not that it's really going to matter in the long run, but if I played the Mountain here, I get to Island Cycle Lorien Revealed and then play the island that I cycled for immediately, but now I'm going to cycle for an island and then play a mountain so they know one of our cards is a land. They have extra information they didn't need to have. No cards cast yet. Draw another Lorien Revealed. That's pretty sweet, because I'm at 4 mana already, so I'll probably be casting that as the draw 3 soon enough. Might even cast the Flame as a draw 2, but it's a little different. I don't have a lot of great removal in this deck, so I kind of don't want to spend it as card draw if I don't have to. I don't think I have to. I've got a lot of stuff to play still. Still nothing, turn 4. Is this just like a hard control deck? All spells versus all spells? It's kind of weird. Yeah, there's a counter spell now. Alright, well. Like a Mexican standoff. Oh, okay. Pretty fine with countering that. Actually, I think it's better to smite it. Play around a trick of some kind? Sure. I'm just going to smite it now. Still have Glorious Gale up. This Glorious Gale can kill bigger things than 3 toughness cards, and I have so many instants in my hand, it's not hard to hold up a Glorious Gale. The one thing that's gonna be a little bit of a bummer is if I do hit the 5th land for Lorien Revealed, I'm gonna want to tap out for that, and then I won't have Glorious Gale up. Rosie Cotton. Rosie's really not a big deal by herself. She only puts counters on other creatures, so I just say, like, okay. I might have to flame her eventually, but for now, I don't think I really care. I guess they get a food, though, which isn't a great deal for me. Could find a Deceive the Messenger kill for her out of nowhere. That's another thing. I'm gonna have to discard the hand size? Ugh! I don't want to discard my draw 3. I feel like that's the only reasonable thing to do, though. Alright, well, that kind of sucks. Is what it is. This way I can actually get a card out of it instead of just discarding a card to hand size. Is Deceive the Messenger secretly the best common in the whole format? Let's find out now. No. It's a good common. Not the best one. Yeah, exile that, bring it back, sure. I'll get another food and a Ring Temptation. Do I want to flame Rosie just to counter that? A decent amount of value. Sure, I'll stop some value here, maybe, unless they have multiple slip on the rings. We're in an interaction war. Let's go. Alright. I don't know what's going on. I just need to draw any one land to be able to hold up my counterspell after this. So, scry 2, draw 2, look for a land. Ooh. I'll get rid of the Kingfisher and hope for land. Beautiful. Alright, so I get to hold Glorious Gale up. Then I get to play Flamesmith next turn. So if they don't kill Flamesmith, I get a lot of chip damage in before I go for a Gandalf Sanctioned victory late. Alright, we Gale the big flyer. They're over it. They just do not like this deck. They're down to 3 cards in hand, facing against 5 cards. They know they're all non-lands because I have been missing a lot of land drops. And they're just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm not dealing with this blue-red nonsense anymore. And fair enough. That is going to lead us to a 5-1 run so far. If we were in a normal Premier Draft, not in the Monopoly Bucks Wizards of the Coast sponsored early access event, we'd be in the money now. So this has been a really cool, really fun draft. Not only is the deck doing some pretty unique things you don't do all the time, but it's doing them well. We are 5 wins deep heading into round 7. All right, we got the Gandalf Sanction. Let's go. Turn 2 Flamesmith as well. Might get some damage in. I don't know. Our opponent is gold already. That's kind of wild. I guess I'm like a draft away from gold if I can win some games. It's not that wild. They're on blue-black, Mordor Muster turn 2. Already big enough to make my Flamesmith look super bad. I'm gonna go for a Swarming of Moria here. Shoot them in the face and get a treasure token set up. Dunland Crebain. That is a 3/3 Orc Army, which is not good for me. Scry 2, draw 2. By Soothing of Smeagol, I can only bounce non-tokens, which is so bad. I don't get to kill our Orc Army. And they just get to recast that for good value, so I don't actually... I mean, if I Soothing, then Arwen's Gift's only going to be 3 mana in the future, which is nice. Oh no, I need 2 legendaries. Never mind, this is always going to be 4 mana. Alright, if that's the case, we just play the Kingfisher. Fine. Looking for one of our like isolation at Orthonks. We've got a couple of those, I think. That's our way to deal with Orc armies. For now, we could also find the deal 5 damage spell or the deal 3 damage spell, but I don't think those are going to last forever. This army is likely to get bigger soon. Deceive the messenger. That's nice. That could be a surprise kill. No, it couldn't, because it's the ring bearer. If I deceive the messenger this... It's a 0/3, I can't block it. I guess I can block it and then deceive the messenger. Yeah, that's reasonable. And I have 2 mana up for Soothing a Smeagol if I want to do that. Send in a Kingfisher. No, don't trade, just take 2. The trade isn't even bad for us because we draw a card. I just would rather get some damage in. Alright, is what it is. I'm not going to deceive the messenger to win combat with my creature. That's already fine if it dies. I guess now I can play the Kingfisher and hold up Deceive Messenger since I drew a land. Yeah, that's great. Kingfisher seems a lot more likely to be good than Soothing of Smeagol right now. Golem's Bite! I guess I'm playing this right now so that it doesn't actually kill my army. But then I don't kill their army either. It seems we are at a stalemate. They're going to tempt the ring again, so they draw a card, discard a card when their ring bearer attacks. They could send it in. I can't block a 0/3 unless I had a 0 power creature on board, so I can't kill it. So they just get their draw discard, but then they don't have any blockers up against my 5 power, so it's worth considering not attacking there. But they're going to send in. Let's race. We've got a Gandalf Sanction in hand, which means I think we want to race. It's Arwen's Gift here. I do want the land, so I have the 5 mana for the Lorien Revealed, which I also am okay with. And I have 2 mana up for Soothing of Smeagol here. I guess the game's kind of unlikely to go long enough for us to cast both of these Lorien Revealeds, so I should probably cycle one of them, or I should have been okay with scrying one to the bottom there. The Mouth of Sauron, that makes their Orc Army absurd. That's so good against us. God dang it. That's literally the perfect card against us. Because if they mill us, their Orc gets bigger for the number of instants and sorceries in our graveyard, and we're trying to Gandalf Sanction. Well, that's bad. Actually, no, we can turn this into a good thing. As long as I don't die right now, this means they're dead to Gandalf Sanction. Oh, they didn't attack. Never mind, they're not dead to Gandalf Sanction. They will be soon. Just make sure I have the mana for Hithlane Knots here. 48% of my deck is lands right now. I'm going to be greedy on it. There's 3 coin flips to hit a land. We did hit one. Cool. So I Hithlane Knots. Tap the Orc, scry 1, draw a card. That's the plan. And then Gandalf Sanction is lethal next turn. Basically guaranteed. Mouth of Sauron is like just throwing gasoline everywhere, basically. One of us is going to die like immediately when that hits the board with the way that my deck is. So, I mean, if they have a counterspell for Gandalf Sanction, then I guess they'll win this. I got an Isolation, so now I don't even have to go for it here. I can just hold up 6 mana and play Isolation and Knots. Yeah, if I don't have to go for Sanction here, I can just play defensively, interactively, we'll do that. Pass turn. Play a land. Play the Knots. Scry 1, draw a card, hit a Deceive the Messenger, which is beautiful. Stop the damage and still have a bounce spell up here. Another Mouth of Sauron. Okay. All right. 2121 Orc Army. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. I'm just gonna bounce the Mouth of Sauron. That puts them dead on board. And then I have Gandalf's Sanction as well to try to kill them. I mean, they lived the dream even if they died. Yeah. That's the biggest Orc Army I've seen so far. That's a really scary card. We could have died to like a Surrounded by Orcs or something. That was an incredible match. I absolutely had fun. That was silly. Double Mouth of Sauron. That's so cool. I love this card so much. Mouth of Sauron's a really cool card. I've gotten to play the blue-black Amass Orc Surrounded by Orcs deck, but I didn't get any copies of the Mouth of Sauron in that draft pod. And I think this is our super, super sweet card for that archetype. It's kind of like the blue-black version of the Gandalf Sanction deck, where you could Surrounded by Orcs yourself a bunch, and then, you know, get a 21/21 Orc Army, and then Surrounded by Orcs, your opponent mill them like 24, so... Yeah, if like one of these Mouth of Saurons was Surrounded by Orcs instead, we might have just milled our whole deck out and lost to that, but... Alright. I don't know the counterspells very well in this format. It doesn't feel like... I really haven't seen many counterspells that counter non-creatures. So I probably should have just went for this Gandalf Sanction early, but I kind of lived in fear there and just went for the combat damage, so who knows what else was in their hand. But plays out super well for us. We are now really just having an excellent time. I'm having so much fun, and we're 6-1 now, heading into round number 8, which is the final battle. If we win this round, that's going to end the event at a 7-win run. That would be super sweet, but I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. We've got 2 shots for the final battle here. Alright, we have the blue source thanks to Lorien Revealed, which means we have the 4 mana to get to Arwen's Gift and Isolation at Orthunk, and we've got a treasure token sitting around. I'm never going to know how to pronounce that thing. The really sad part is I'm recording all these videos during the early access event, which is a 24-hour time span, so I'm going to be really tired by the end of this. I'm already getting kind of tired. I've been up a while, but the main thing is that I'm recording these all in one day. This video is not going to go up until like 3-4 days after the early access event. So I am probably going to have some people telling me how to pronounce this on my first draft of the format, but I'm not going to pronounce it correctly till like my 7th or 8th draft because I'm recording like 6 in one day. Alright, well, turn 1 Frodo might just kill us. That's an issue. It's a 2/3 lifelink on turn 2. So it's just gonna immediately be really hard to kill them, at least, if nothing else. This is bad. This is definitely bad. Ooh, Deceive the Messenger. That can't kill a Frodo, but it's still good. Still stops the life gain for a turn, and then I make it a 3/3 with Swarming of Moria next turn. And that way, they can't attack into a 3/3 with a 2/3. What is mode 3 even that requires triple black? When it deals combat damage to a player, they lose the game if the Ring's tempted you 4 more times. Oh. It's actually not that hard to tempt the Ring 4 times. That's really scary. I'm spooked. Let's play a 3/3 blocker for Frodo and just try to stop the lifelink rather than attacking in here. If they attack, I'm not going to block because it means they have a trick, but I'm hoping that I just play this and it gets them to not attack. Yeah, so they're not going to attack here because they spent all the mana on a king, which I can't do anything about. Because if I target it, it phases out and it survives. So if I try to target it with Gandalf Sanction, I don't even damage my opponent. Then it phases back in and gets a 1/1. It happens if I Deceive the Messenger too. Good grief. Okay. I can't do anything about this thing. I think my deck's only answer to this is if I just counter it when they play it, so I need to outrace it, which will be hard to do. So thanks to the treasure token, I could scry 2, draw a card, and still have a Deceive the Messenger up if I need it. which is fine. I guess then I could attack in with my army and they can't gain any life on the crackback. I think this is fine. Other land's okay, but not super spicy. Let's get the burn spell for Frodo and it's surrounded by orcs. Send in the squad. We're taking some damage here, but thanks to Deceive the Messenger, it's just going to be 3 damage. Probably. Yep, we are down to 15. And a Mirkwood Bats is the play. I think I'd rather kill Frodo than the Bats. Either way, I get to hold up Counterspell afterward, which is alright, but not great. Feels better than playing surrounded by orcs right now. But if I do play surrounded by orcs right now, I get to mill 7, which can really set up a Gandalf Sanction. Yeah, I don't know what's better. I think I'm going for Smite Glorious Gale here, though. Alright, shoot the lifelinker. Hopefully they don't have a lot of token production here to go with the Mirkwood Bats, because that would race very well. Gandalf Sanction can find a ton of damage out of nowhere, though, because it's going to clear out a blocker and shoot them in the face. And then obviously we just attack with a pretty big Orc Army after that. So we're down to 10. Protector of Gondor, slam that counterspell down. We are not letting them get some tokens on board. Gandalf Sanction is at 7, which is not quite lethal yet. And surrounded by orcs, hit them for 7, and then Gandalf Sanction next turn for the kill as long as I don't take 10. Alright, cross my fingers that I don't take 10. Because I'm going to put them to 8, and then even if they kill my Orc Army, Gandalf Sanction can probably kill them. I guess it's 1 damage off from killing them if they don't play another creature. Ooh. Fellbeast is really good there. Yeah, I'm 1 instant or sorcery from killing them. I have to draw a 1-mana spell or a land. And this is going to be Exactsies? Actually, it's going to be 1 more damage than Exactsies because I get to make it more excess damage here. Yeah, beautiful. Gandalf Sanction is a heck of a magic card. We had 3 copies in our deck, and a majority of those games, we only really needed 1 copy to finish them off. Just get some attacks in with the Orc Army, and then slam in for like 8 in the end off a Gandalf Sanction. That was sweet. Best deck we've drafted so far. This was a really fun, really strong archetype, and I really went for the theory crafting on this one where it's like, it looks like this is a really legit thing you can absolutely do if it's wide open in your draft pod. We saw that it was wide open in the draft pod. We decided to see if the deck was a real thing, and it is. Gandalf Sanction, blue-red spells, 3 creatures in this deck because we're amassing some army tokens, some orc armies, to have some other token production. That way we have creatures in our deck even without having creatures in our deck. And more than anything, the majority of our spells are instants and sorceries to fuel that Gandalf Sanction for lethal. Not much to say here. Everything was pretty great. I think Soothing of Smeagol and Glorious Gale were both a little bit of an underperformer. Soothing of Smeagol especially, because most of the time there were a lot of creatures with good enter the battlefield effects that this just wasn't very good against. Or they just had like a big Orc Army we couldn't do anything about, so I'm pretty low on Soothing of Smeagol at this point. I think Hithlane Knots was a really big overperformer, because you do play against these decks that have giant Orc Armies, and even when they don't, like, You know, our one game we lost, Sam Black had like a 5/5 and a 5/4, and the 5/4 spits out 1/1s when it attacks. So just tapping one thing down, scrying and drawing a card is really good in a deck that already just wants to cycle through scry and draw in the first place to get more instants for Gandalf Sanction. So I think Hithlane Knots was a massive overperformer. Soothing Smeagol played pretty poorly. Other than that, though, Flame of Anor, Gandalf Sanction was incredible, massive overperformer. Breaking of the Fellowship was really awkward. We had a game where we could almost never cast it, but we did end up casting it in the end, but I think overall a bit of an underperformer. The Lorien Revealeds were great. I think I didn't island cycle them as aggressively as I should have, but that's more of a me problem than a problem with this spell. And Surrounded by Orcs was fantastic with Gandalf Sanction milling ourselves, setting up those draws. Arwen's Gift was perfectly serviceable. Tiny bit overcosted at 4 mana. But Lorien Revealed is also a tiny bit overcosted at 5 mana. But Lorien Revealed with that flexibility is so good. I think if you could get away with having like 3 or 4 copies of Lorien Revealed, then it would be cool to just have 3 Lorien Revealed, 0 Arwen's Gift. But I think having 1 of this and 2 of this was still pretty good. Like 3 big late game draw spells was nice. And Deceive the Messenger was fantastic. This card is a card that's going to get significantly worse the longer the format goes on, because people will know of the card's existence and play around it. When they've got like a particularly valuable 1/1 or 2/1, they just won't attack in when you've got the open blue mana and arenas being a snitch. So this is going to get worse as time progresses, but right now, early in the format for your first drafts, this is a super good card. And I think this is still probably pretty great for this deck in particular, but not really anything else. But currently, the fact that nobody ever knows this is going to exist because everybody's brand new to the format, I think I'd play this in almost any blue deck, particularly blue-black and blue-red for sure. And I think it's going to stay decent in blue-black and blue-red, but I think for now it's just good in like anything blue, so. Overall, super sweet stuff. Cast Into the Fire, I think I'm still kind of not wanting to main deck it, but it did technically win us that last game by being a cheap enough spell to cast, so there was that. But yeah, not much else to say. I loved this draft. That was super fun. You get to do some really, really fun little synergistic archetypes and stuff and play some super unique decks. So absolutely loved this draft. Loving the format so far, but that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting this channel, as well as you for watching the videos. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you're interested in catching me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.